There is a little Twitter beef brewing between two punters, and I'm sure you have no idea why. So I'm going to break it down for you. It starts off when Thomas Morstead left a football-shaped imprint on the butt of his personal protector, and Pat McAfee hopped on the Peyton and Eli show to break it down.
We got Thomas Morstead, kicked it right into the old keister right here, right there. What happened here? Explain this.
The thing about it is this was a backed-up punt, short amount of space for Thomas Morstead to get this punt off. Because he backs up, the personal protector is supposed to go forward. Cheeks get clapped by a football.
Max Duffy would actually go on to disagree with Pat McAfee, saying that he was also completely wrong, and if Morstead had any sort of awareness, he would realize he was going to do that and adjust. A typical American understanding of punting. Now, as you can imagine, this comes across a little harsher than maybe Max was intending, and it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Well, maybe not a lot of people, but specifically Pat McAfee, when McAfee would clap back on his podcast saying this.
Would say, there was an Aussie punter that used to punt at Kentucky that said something about Thomas Morstead for the butt punt because I mentioned how the personal protector, but the punter formerly of the University of Kentucky said that it's because the American punters have no self-awareness. Maybe that is something. Maybe you're also in the NFL playing against adults who are a lot faster and you're in a backup situation, you're trying to get the ball off quick. We're talking about the men's league, child.
Yeah,
okay? Just
wake up.
I appreciate everything you did, and your journey's probably awesome, but shut the
Max Duffy would not take too kindly to that, essentially comparing himself to legendary coach Bill Belichick, as neither of them have ever actually played in the NFL. He would then go on to clarify that he likes Americans, thinks they're awesome, but just doesn't think Thomas Morstead should have punted it into his personal protector's butt. So now you might be wondering, who is right here? Did Thomas Morstead do the right thing? Is Max Duffy onto something? Was Pat McAfee right to get mad? And that's why you came to me, a guy who's played less professional football than both of them, for the correct opinion on it. To me, this is a pretty open and closed case. First, let's look at the 22-man view to see if it even makes sense for Thomas Morstead to roll out. I just want to do this to play devil's advocate here. So we take a look at it. Thomas Morstead is going to punt. They are in a max protect look, and it appears as if the blocking team is going to try to set up a return, aka they're not really bringing the whole house. So theoretically, Thomas Morstead could have, had he been paying attention, gotten this ball off by shifting his feet, wrapping around, and maybe hitting a little drop punt. This is what I'm assuming Max Duffy is talking about, because I can't imagine him trying to shift and hit a spiral out of that. That is a recipe for a disaster. Alright, so now let's go over a couple of scenarios that just absolutely destroy Max Duffy's idea. First, let's say they were bringing a blitz. You don't really have time to decide that once you catch the ball when you have it on your own 2-yard line, which means you just have to get it off as quick as possible, which is what he was going for, and he can't really account for his guy backing up into him because I'm sure in all his weeks of training, they did not in fact train for this situation. Not the backed up punt, for the guy backing it up on him, giving him his best clubbing impression. So if he were to try to roll out, he might have very well just gotten it blocked right there, which could have ended up even worse for a touchdown. They could have fumbled it, so on and so forth. Situation 2, let's say he rolls out because he notices his guy's backing up. He then flips his hips, rolls out a little bit, just enough to get the ball off on a nice little drop punt, and hits it 48 yards to the 50, where it gets returned, let's be generous, only 5 yards to the 45. So with 90 seconds left, you give Josh Allen 45 yards to go win the game, only up by 5 points. This, you cannot convince me, is a better outcome than what actually happened. So they take the safety, kicks the ball, and now Josh Allen starts on his opposite 23-yard line, which means in order to give Tyler Bass a 50-yard field goal, which is by no means a chip shot, he had to drive the ball 48 yards to do that, as opposed to maybe 45 to 50 yards to outright win the game with a go-ahead touchdown. In my opinion, this punt is actually almost even a better situation than what would have happened if Thomas Morstead hit a phenomenal punt. If he hits a 60-yard punt and gets them all the way back to their opposite 35-yard line, I still think the way this play actually panned out was better than that scenario, because it just backs them up so much, requires them to cover so much ground just to give Tyler Bass the potential to make a long field goal. So in my opinion, I think Max Duffy's argument just completely breaks down, but that doesn't mean that I don't have criticism for Pat McAfee's way of addressing it, because all I gotta say to you, Pat, is man, this is such an easy argument to break up, aside from the fact that obviously Thomas Morstead is trying to get the ball off as quick as he can, and thus he cannot be bothered to worry about his guy that clearly is another professional and is supposed to be trained not to do exactly what he did, which is argument A, and honestly the easiest argument. Argument B being that this is a better situation that they ended up in regardless, because look at the outcome of the game. I just think there was too many low-hanging fruit in this argument to only go after Max Duffy's previous history of playing in the league. because personally, I have never played in the league. I can still tell that Max Duffy is making a really bad argument here. So by only attacking it, you're just undermining people like myself for being able to comment on things like professional play. Instead, just attack how stupid of an argument it is. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have on this. What are your guys' thoughts? Not just on the Thomas Morstead situation, but on how Max Duffy handled it and how Pat McAfee handled it. But as always, I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and peace.
A conversation yesterday and I didn't give full context, but fuck that guy.